Welcome back, dear students. In the previous class we have completed till question number 26. So here we are moving with question number 27. So the question goes as such: two halves of pelvic girdle are joined together by, see, already we know that pelvic girdle joins the hind limb, alright, and the pelvic bone, the pelvic girdle rather, alright, is composed of two hip bones, alright, or you can also call that to as the coxal bones, alright. They are two in number, and each one has ilium, ischium and pubis. So here, dear students, remember that pubis symphysis, it is a specialized joint, alright. It is a specialized joint where the pubis of one hip joins with the pubis of the opposite hip bone, alright. So it helps in joining the pubis. See, you need to understand that pubis of one hip joins the pubis of another hip, alright. That's where it is important, alright. And so the two halves of pelvic girdle are joined together by what? Pubic symphysis. So remember that, alright. That's an important aspect. So you have to go with option 1. Next we have smallest bone in rabbit and man is stapes, patella, nasal and palatine are the 4 options. Okay, let me explain you this, anatomically when we speak, alright, see, ear can be divided into, alright, 3 major sections, alright. The outer ear, okay, this is the first section, followed by the middle ear, alright. Then it is divided into the inner ear, alright. Now let me tell you that in this, when we consider the middle ear, alright, it contains 3 ear ossicles, alright my friends. 3 ear ossicles or 3 bones, smallest of bones are present in the middle ear. The first is the malleus and the second is the incus, alright, and the third one is the stapes. So these are the 3 smallest of bones present in the middle ear, alright. Now these 3, malleus, incus, stapes, they are attached to one another like in a chain like manner, alright, and they send signal from outer ear to the inner ear. They send signal from the outer ear, alright, to inner ear, alright. So it is very important to understand, alright. Dear students, now let me tell you that the stapes, when we are speaking, it is the smallest bone in rabbit and man, alright. So option 1 is our right answer. And let me also tell you that stapes is also called as stirrup, alright. And let me tell you, it helps in, alright, transmission of sound vibrations, alright, from the incus, alright. It takes the sound vibrations from the incus and transmits further to the, alright, oval window of the cochlea. Cochlea is a, alright, important structure, alright, which is present in the ear, snail coiled structure, snail like structure, so the sound vibrations are transferred from the stirrup to the cochlea further to the inner ear, alright. So anyway, the smallest bone in rabbit and man is stapes, so go with option number 1. 29th question we have is, read the following statements carefully and select the appropriate option given below. See, among these we have to select the appropriate options, alright. So let us go with the first statement. Visceral muscles activities are not under the voluntary control of the nervous system. Yes, it is so. Visceral muscles are in fact not under the voluntary control of nervous system. All right. So that's correct. And second option, Hydra can use its tentacles for capturing its prey and also for locomotion. Yes, Hydra has many tentacles, my dear friends, which it can see. Many tentacles are present in the Hydra, alright, which it can use it for, alright, locomotion as well as for catching its prey. That's the correct statement. Then third statement, let us move. 50 to 60% of the body weight of a human adult is contributed by muscles. Rather, it should have been 40 to 50%. Alright, here. So, it is not 50 to 60%, and option third is wrong. So, we have to select, alright, the options which are correct. Alright, and see here. Option 1 is correct, option 2 is correct, option 3 is wrong. Then fourth statement we have is the light band contain actin, yes, and is called A band. See, the light band is called as not A band, it should have been I band, isotropic band. Whereas the dark band called I or isotropic band, it is not I, it should have been A band. A here represents anisotropic band. And yes, see, anisotropic band contains myosin. So statement 4 is wrong. Then let us go with fifth statement. The A and I bands are arranged alternatively throughout the length of myofibrils. Absolutely right. Alright. See, because of their alternative arrangement, we have sliding filamentous theory, which explains as the muscular contraction process. So statement 5 is also correct. Dear students, out of the given 5 statements, statement 1, 2 and 5 are correct. 3 and 4 are wrong. So you can go for option 3. All are correct except 3 and 4. Next, a bone is connected to another by tendon, ligament, cartilage and muscle. So the question is, a bone is connected to another bone through what are the structures? So we need to identify among the given 4 options. See, first of all, let me tell you the first option what they have given, tendon. See, tendon is a fibrous connective tissue. Alright. It's a fibrous connective tissue. So this fibrous connective tissue connects muscle to bone, my dear friends. Connects muscle to bone. Alright. And it cannot be the answer. We need to identify, alright, the structure which connects bone to bone. As the tendon is connecting muscle to bone, we cannot go with this option. Alright. See, tendon, let me give you information on this. See, it is capable of withstanding high tension. Alright. It can, withstand tension. Alright. And also transmit mechanical signals for muscular contraction. Fine. So, tendon is not our answer. Then let us move with the second, that is ligament. See, dear students, when we are talking about the ligament is also fibrous connective tissue. Alright. Here, let me tell you that this helps in attachment of one bone to the another bone. And usually, alright, it is important for holding the structures together and keeping them stable. Alright, that is the function of the ligament. So yes, we need to identify among the given 4 options, as I said you before, a structure which connects bone to bone, and obviously it should be second. Alright, that is ligament. But also let us understand what we mean by cartilage. See, cartilage is also, my dear friends, connective tissue. It is also a connective tissue, alright, which is found in the body. Especially see the cartilage when an embryo is developing, especially we can find the cartilage, all right, is the precursor to bone. There is the, bones are not present actually. In fact, in the embryo we can find the much of cartilage, all right. See, cartilage generally we can find covering the joints, my dear friends, and also say for example in the outer ear, all right, we can find the outer ear is formed of cartilage. Fine, dear students. See, then muscle is given, the fourth option. See, muscles help in, all right, it helps to produce force and motion, all right. It is not helping in connection of what I can say, one bone with another bone, all right, as or as such, all right. So the right option is ligament which connects bone to bone. Go with the option 2. Next we have joint where synovial capsule and synovial fluid are lacking. See, synovial capsule and synovial fluid are absent. That type of joint we need to identify, my friends. See, let us go with the first option, that is they have given carpal. See, carpal joint is the joint between two carpal bones, all right. It is the joint which is present between, all right, two carpal bones, all right, which see, carpals are very important bones of our forelimbs. Fine. So we can find carpal joint, or rather we can say intercarpal joint also. You can say carpal joint, you can say, or the another way to represent it as what, intercarpal joint, all right. So remember this intercarpal joint, all right, it is present in the wrist, all right. So it is not the option, my dear friends, all right. So here the synovial capsule and synovial fluid are present. So let us go with the second option, that is pubic symphysis in females. See, pubic symphysis is a cartilaginous joint, all right, cartilaginous joint. It is especially present in the females, all right. And dear students, let me also tell you that it is present near clitoris. See, clitoris is an important structure which is present in the reproductive region of females. There we can find this pubic symphysis, all right. This is present in females, my dear friends. Okay, let me tell you that two pubic bones connect to form, all right, an opening, all right. Two pubic bones, this pubic symphysis, they help in when they connect to form, all right, an opening through which the baby is delivered, all right. So fine. So we can say that in the pubic symphysis, in case of females, all right, it's the joint where we don't find the synovial capsule as well as the synovial fluid, my dear friends, all right. And further, let us also understand third option, that is finger and toes in males, all right. See, this finger and what we can say, toes have joints between the digits and phalanges, all right, digits, and they have joints between the digits and phalanges. So this is also not our option. Then femur and pelvis in female. The femur and pelvis join to form, all right, femur and pelvis, when both of them they join, they form the hip bone, all right. Remember this, my dear friends. Okay, so anyway, we have to go for option 2, pubic symphysis in female, where we don't find synovial fluid as well as the synovial capsule. Next question we have, lactic acid generated during muscle contraction is elaborated to form glycogen in liver, pancreas, kidney and muscle are the 4 options. See, lactic acid, yes, obvious that lactic acid during strenuous exercise, it is formed during muscular contraction, and this will be elaborated to form glycogen in where this is elaborated to form glycogen. We need to identify out of these 4 options. Okay, my friends, let me tell you firstly that glucose undergoes metabolism, all right, in the presence of oxygen and ATP, that is adenosine triphosphate, the energy currencies of the cell, what we call, all right. Then what happens during vigorous exercise, especially remember, during vigorous exercise the body cannot meet oxygen demand, all right, and glucose undergoes metabolism during that process when there is very much less oxygen, or body cannot meet oxygen demand. During that same time glucose undergoes metabolism, all right, in the absence of what? Oxygen, and results in the accumulation of what, my dear friends? Lactic acid. It is called as, already we know, anaerobic fermentation, right? See, the lactic acid generated during this muscular contraction is elaborated to produce glycogen in the liver. There is one cycle called as, all right, Cori cycle, all right. It's a metabolic pathway or metabolic cycle. Through this Cori cycle we can say that the lactic acid which is generated during muscular contraction is elaborated to form glycogen in the liver, all right. So 1 is our correct answer. Spinal cord passes through foramen of Monro, iter, obturator foramen, foramen magnum are the 4 options. So here, to understand this, let me tell you that there is a large oval opening, all right, very large oval opening, all right, called as foramen, all right, foramen, which is present in the occipital bone of the skull, all right. This opening is present in the occipital bone of skull. We already are well familiar that skull is formed of frontal bone, correct. Then after followed by the frontal bone we have the next parietal, all right. Then towards left and right side we have the temporal bone, and towards the back side we have the occipital bone. So in the occipital bone of skull we can find the large opening called as foramen, all right, or foramen magnum, rather very clearly we can state it as what? Foramen magnum. Dear students, see, the spinal cord, all right, which is an extension of medulla, all right. Spinal cord is what? In simple sense we can say it as what? Extension of medulla, my dear friends, all right. So remember that medulla is a part of the brain, all right. So spinal cord is the extension of medulla, the last part of the brain, and the spinal cord passes through the foramen magnum, my dear friends, all right. And let me tell you that very clearly, all right, as we have understood here, we have to go for option 4. That will be our right answer. Next we have the following figure shows the. So we need to identify what the following figure is. 4 options have been given here: thin filament, thick filament, myosin polymer, and meromyosin. Dear students, so please understand that meromyosin is a part of myosin. Myosin is a contractile protein. Along with myosin we also have actin, all right. Actin is a thin, all right, protein, whereas myosin is a thick protein. See, many meromyosins join to form myosin. So rather we can say it as what? Meromyosin is a monomer of the polymer called as myosin, all right. So let me tell you that meromyosin is the important functional unit, all right, of muscle fiber. We call that as what? Sarcomere, right? Yeah. So it is taking an important part in muscular contraction. So without any hesitation, dear students, go for option 4. The given figure is meromyosin, having both the actin and myosin filaments in it. Next we have true joints are synovial joints, synchondrosis, syndesmosis, symphysis. These are the 4 options which have been mentioned. So out of these we need to identify which are the true joints. First of all, my dear friends, let me tell you that a joint in the human body, it is a connection between, all right, connection between the body tissues, cartilages, all right, and bones, all right. So remember this. And further, let me tell you that structurally and functionally, all right, of this synovial is that which functions or which freely moves. See, we have a type of joint called synovial joint. It is freely movable joint. It is movable. It is mobile. It shows high mobility rather. All right. So dear students, here note the point that the pectoral girdle or the shoulder joint, what we call, all right, see the pectoral girdle, or we can also call it as what, shoulder joint or shoulder girdle rather, okay. It is the, all right, type of what we can say synovial joint, all right. An example has been mentioned here, all right. It is made up of a set of bones we know already, clavicle and scapula. Dear students, let me tell you that this pectoral girdle, all right, connects arms, all right, connects to the arms of axial skeleton of both sides rather we can say. So anyway, now let me come to the point here. So these are all the extra points which I have said till now about the synovial joints and the joints, all right. Now when we talk about the shoulder girdle or the pectoral girdle, note the point that it is made up of 5 joints. Totally 5 joints are present, of which 3 joints are anatomically called as true joints, out of which 3 are true joints and 2 are, all right, here physiologically when we speak, all right, so they are false joints. Just you can remember that 2 are, all right, 2 are false joints and 3 are true joints. Just we need to know that where true joints are especially associated with this. 3 of the true joints are associated with the pelvic or pectoral girdle, which is we can say having the synovial joints. So please go for option 1, that is your right answer. Next, sigmoid notch of olecranon process is found in, all right. First of all, let me tell you that the sigmoid notch is a large depression or the cavity rather. In simple sense, we can say it as depression or you can say it as cavity, all right, of the olecranon process. It's a large depression or cavity of the olecranon process, all right. Where this olecranon process can be present, it is present associated with radius, all right, one of the important bones of our forelimb, all right. All right, my dear students, see here, in this we can find, in the radius we can find trochlea, all right. What is this trochlea? This is a part of one more important bone which is present in our forelimb called as humerus, all right. So we can say this trochlea as what, lowermost part of the humerus, all right, which fits and forms elbow joint. This radius and, all right, humerus, all right, they both fit and form the elbow joint, my dear friends. So the sigmoid joint of olecranon process can be present in the where, radio ulna, all right. So the right option we can go for. See here, remember my dear students, one more important aspect. I said that sigmoid notch is a large depression of the cavity, all right, which is present in the radius. And I also told you that the radius, all right, along with the humerus, that is the trochlea part of humerus, they both fit and form the elbow joint. But this sigmoid notch can be present between the 2 more bones called as what, of course, radius, and along with the radius we can say ulna, all right. So the right option is what, option 3. Interarticular disc occurs in wall of heart, wall of liver, pubic symphysis, in between two vertebrae. Dear students, first of all, let me make you clear what do we mean by this interarticular disc. See, it is a thin, alright, oval plate, alright, of fibrous cartilage. It is formed of fibrous cartilage. It is like a plate, oval plate. Now, let me tell you that we are very well clear that in human beings, or the total, in human, the vertebral column is formed of 26 units or 26 bones, correct? So that is, already we are well familiar with, all right, the, first we can say the vertebrae in the neck region, all right. So next we have in the thoracic region, all right. Then we have in the what we call thoracic vertebrae, the lumbar vertebrae, the sacral and the coccyx. All this, my dear students, all this together, 26 bones they form, all right, and they are dorsally placed. That is the back side of our body. We can find them. Now, this interarticular disc, all right, this all right, forms a fibrocartilaginous joint, my dear friends. See, this disc forms fibrocartilaginous joint, all right, and it allows, this fibrocartilaginous joint allows slight movement, very slight movement, all right. Where it provides this slight movement? Definitely I can tell you that in the vertebrae, all right, between the, all right, 26 bones which are present in the vertebral column. Dear students, definitely we can say that between two vertebrae we can find the interarticular disc. Go for option 4. So the next question we have here is, match the following and mark the correct option. So here, dear students, column 1 and column 2 we need to match, my friends. See, among the given options, very clearly we can say that sarcomere, when we are speaking, sarcomere is the ultimate unit of, all right, contractile unit or the unit of contraction. See, this sarcomere is made up of, all right, the contractile proteins, that is thin, all right, actins and thick myosins, all right. So remember this. So A, D we are going to easily go with in the column 2 with 3. Then actin filament, already we know that actin filament forms what? Isotropic band. See, actin filament forms the, we call it as I band or isotropic band, all right, which is a thin band, all right. In this region there will be no, all right, when you consider the myofibril, in where I band is present, there will be no thick band at all, only thin regions can be present here. Then opposite of that, that is myosin, will be A band, anisotropic band. So C we have to match with 4, that is I band. Then two more important aspects are here, my dear students. First is fast muscle fibers. See, these fast muscle fibers are present in the type of runners, all right, who run for a short amount of time, all right. Here, dear students, we can find high glycogen content, all right. So fine, and also myoglobin, all right, is an important protein, all right, my dear students. So which is present for continuous production of ATP, all right. Then we have slow muscle fibers. Here we can find in the runners who have long and steady run. So there, of course, mitochondria will also be high here, but of course more than that I can definitely tell you that lactic acid deposition will also be, all right, very high. So anyway, so among the given options, the right option is option 1. Joint of sternum and ribs is, see dear students, we know that sternum is the centermost bone in the thoracic region to which the ribs are attached, all right, and the ribs, note, for the attachment of ribs to the sternum, which is the joint we need to identify. Dear students, without any hesitation you can go for cartilaginous joint, all right. These cartilaginous joints allow more movement between the bones, alright, than fibrous joint. That much I can tell you. And alright, my dear friends, see these cartilaginous joints, alright, we can find the ribs articulates with here, the ribs articulates with the sternum, the ribs articulate with the sternum, alright, via costal cartilage. There is a cartilage called as costal cartilage through which the ribs are attached to the sternum, alright. Anyway, my friends, but it is through which type of joint? Cartilaginous joint. So go for option 1. The last question of this session is nucleus pulposus occurs in, 4 options have been mentioned: brain, liver, kidney and intervertebral disc. Dear students, first of all let me tell you that what is nucleus pulposus. See, nucleus pulposus is the inner core of the vertebral disc, or we can say it as what, or in other sense we can say it is present alright, in between the vertebrae, or in between the vertebrae, or we can say it as what, intervertebral disc. So we are very clear with it that it is occurring in intervertebral disc. See, dear student, this nucleus pulposus in it, alright, it is composed of jelly like material, alright, jelly like material it is having. Together with that, alright, we can say, okay, or we can say in the jelly like material which is present, we can say more of water is present, alright. And then, my dear students, we can also see a network of collagen fibers in the nucleus pulposus. So please go for option number 4, that will be your right answer. So nucleus pulposus occurs in intervertebral disc.